Our lives are full of decisions. The decisions we make and the actions we take every day depend on our moral values, the principles that help us to decide what are the right and wrong things to do. But we don't necessarily share the same principles with the people around us. A value such as honesty, which is important to one person, might not be as important to another person. But throughout history, people have also asked if there are some standards that apply to everyone, everywhere. They have asked themselves whether there are any moral values which everyone shares. In the aftermath of the Second World War in 1945, a new international organisation was formed. This organisation was called the United Nations, or UN. The idea behind the UN was for countries to cooperate in order to solve global economic and social problems and to prevent future wars. One of the first tasks for the United Nations was to agree on a document which tried to describe the standards that should be shared by every human being on Earth, or basic human rights that should be protected by every government. This task was led by Eleanor Roosevelt. Her husband, Franklin D. Roosevelt, was the 32nd President of the United States, but he died in early 1945. The next president, Harry S. Truman, asked Eleanor Roosevelt to be a delegate to the UN, and she agreed. The task was a long and difficult one, but Roosevelt wouldn't back down. She insisted that people should do what they felt in their heart to be right, for they would be criticized anyway. And after years of discussion, the document was agreed upon in Paris on the 10th of December 1948. It was called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are 30 articles in the Declaration. Each article is a statement about the rights of every human being. Article 1 says that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. We should all enjoy the same fundamental rights and freedom. Article 2 says that these rights belong to everybody, regardless of race, religion, colour, sex, or any other reason. But in spite of these pledges, millions of people around the world are still living without basic human rights. Their governments don't adhere to the Declaration, which is supposed to protect people against slavery and torture, and gives them the right to live in freedom, to work for a fair wage, to get an education, to elect their own government, and many other things. But there are many organisations and individuals around the world who campaign for human rights. There are a lot of amazing stories about people who have fought to improve the lives of others at great cost to themselves. Nelson Mandela fought for equal rights in South Africa and was in prison for 27 years. Under the apartheid system, only white people could vote in South Africa, and there were many laws that discriminated against people because of the colour of their skin. After his release from prison in 1990, Mandela was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. He then became his country's president in the first free South African elections, which were held in 1994. Mandela is still an inspiration to many human rights campaigners around the world, and in 2009, the United Nations declared his birthday, the 18th of July, Mandela Day, to recognise his contribution to freedom over 6 decades. Over 60 years after it was written, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the most translated document in the world. There are 375 different translations of it on the United Nations website. And this is very important. Nelson Mandela once suggested that if you talked to a man in a language he understood, that went to his head. If you talked to him in his language, that went to his heart. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is one of the most important documents about human rights ever written. But it is the actions of people working every day around the world to protect these rights that are even more important.